Good evening, bear with me. I'm just going to try and add both Sam and Christian in, and we'll get cracking, so bear with. There we go. Well, we've got one on, that's a start.
We're live, indeed.
We are live and ready to roll. We're just waiting on our Australian friend from down in the colonies. Bear with me, have a drink. I've given up on trying to get the pictures on the TV behind me, Sam, after several, I think, for anybody who wouldn't know, because we've just obviously just done a practice, it was quite a squarey practice, so I was trying to get things to work, which didn't decide to work, so I've given up on that. I have no idea why the AirPlay's not working, which is a real pain backside. So evening, afternoon, good morning, wherever you are around the world, for the Australians amongst us, or the one Australian amongst us. He's just making a cup of coffee. I think it's 6 o'clock over in Queensland, isn't it? Or is it New South Wales he lives? I always forget. But he lives in Australia.
Yeah, just outside Sydney, I believe, or something. Yeah, New South Wales.
Yeah,
six in the morning.
Yeah, so he's got nice and early. So yeah, we just wait for Christian while he's making a cup of tea, but isn't able to join. Oh, that's a worry. Oh dear, he has. So he's gone from phone to laptop to God knows what else. He's probably on I don't know how the Australians work, but he's probably on like a cup on a string at the moment or something like that. Here we go. Bear with me. I've just pressed invite, so fingers crossed that he joins.
Yeah, we'll have to turn him the right way up.
Yeah. I'll just be glad for him to join. I don't care if he's upside down in the corner of the picture, as long as he joins, all right. He's not joined just yet, though, which is slightly worrying. Oh, dear. Those old people, boy. Bear with me. Let me just press cancel and I'll press invite again. So hopefully that will let him join. He's not come up on the screen yet, so he's probably sitting there having a cup of coffee trying to get his laptop working or something along them lines.
Yeah, normal service will resume shortly.
Oh, thankfully, nobody can see that I've just put a big Coke stain on my bloody pool table. Brilliant. Nice one, Mark. Great effort. So that is now going on the floor. It probably knocked over. So I will apologise in advance. I do have 2 German Shepherds with me tonight because my wife has decided to go out with a little one. Yes, Jason, congratulations, mate, on Ipswich promotion. Well done. We won't talk about West Ham's absolute shower of shite performance today, which was nothing short of embarrassing.
No. We're not going to talk about Arsenal bottling the title like either.
Arsenal doing the Spurs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know where Christian is. We've lost him. Let me just try and see if we can get him back on again. There we go. He said Christian Oakley isn't able to join, which is slightly concerning. There we go. Christian Oakley. Try again. I've added both his accounts. He's got 2 different accounts, so hopefully he can join and we can get cracking on this. So what we do, we're going to talk obviously about the 8 releases. Yep, that's 8 releases, not 3 this time. 8 actual aircraft releases. We're going to go through them one by one, starting with the World War I into the World War II range and then the 2 148s. And then we have a little bit of a brief sort of divert from that and talk about the Corgi strategy, I guess. Oh, Christian's in, but he hasn't joined the actual live video, so bear with me. Christian, if you press the little button at the bottom now, in the right-hand corner, which is a little plus sign in the camera, we can add you in from there if you can't get in. Bear with me. So I've tried again. He joined the practice one, absolutely. There he is! Hey, he's back.
Here he is.
With the minimum.
Evening, mate. Right, so sorry, you missed my long-winded introduction involving German Shepherds, Arsenal, West Ham, Ipswich Town's promotion. So before we get cracking into the line by line, what's your first thoughts on it?
Good. Yeah, very, 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 very positive. I think they are. It kind of shows they are listening. In a sense, because of what we had. The biggest surprise for me was the 109G. Seemed to have come out of absolutely nowhere. And it's very welcome. And I hope it's Corgi sort of testing the waters a bit to see if we might see some other Italian aircraft. But yeah, I'm really, really, really pleased with it on the whole.
And over to our esteemed model hanger 3 expert, Christian. Go for it.
I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a fabulous effort. And look, and the Italian one, that is a surprise. It's the most intriguing release out of all of them, I think. And Australia got a bit of a mention as well, thanks to Sid Huey, or thanks to Corgi, but thanks for Sid Huey bringing it all up. And it's excellent. Eight releases too. I think that's fabulous. So I'm increasingly convinced this is about the factory more than anything else. But regardless, 8 releases I think is a good effort for what is it, May release.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not suggesting that I got the number right, and I had literally no tip-offs at all. So I did try and pester Michael. I think I brought it up on a couple of posts on Model Hanger as well. I think it's the first time Corgi have been ahead of schedule. So they're talking about Night Fright being available pretty much now. I think the only one that's going to be a little bit later in the year is the Harrier. I think they said was going to be autumn potentially. But all the rest are going to be done by the end of summer. So it does make you wonder whether there's going to be a Fairford release of some sort. Maybe the Tornado is going to be rolled out at Fairford, because they usually do something at Riyadh. So maybe they've got a couple of other little aces up there. So I'm just predicting. I don't know anything around that. But I would hope maybe if they get ahead of the curve, then maybe they'll drop a few more bits in as well. But they've absolutely nailed the first part of the year. They've caught up. I know they've ballsed up the Typhoon. We've gone over that a million times, but they've got it right, haven't they? They've done right. They've done really, really well. I've been trying to catch up with Michael all week, so I've got a call booked in with him at some point next week. So I'll have a long chat with him then, because obviously I want to get Michael and David on as a bit of a duo as well on here, so they can answer some questions to the fan base. But I'm really, really quite impressed with it. And that ME109 is quite frankly the sexiest ME109 good stuff out there, I think. I mean, that scheme is spot on.
It's good scheme.
Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Really, really
I don't think it's necessarily going to segue into them producing, like, say, like a Machi C202 or something of that nature. But even so, if you've got the Stuka that they did, the Italian Stuka they did a few years ago, that's a great pairing to have, really. Hopefully we can maybe see some more Japanese marked or even like Russian Lend-Lease stuff if that gets traction. But I suspect with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, maybe Russian isn't perhaps top of the agenda. But I don't know. It's great. It's positive.
To tie into that though, I've noticed that with the official artwork, there's a new theme called War Under the Sun. So that's 2 releases that we know of. I think there's going to be a few more rolling out alongside, like, very similar sort of scales to the Barbarossa or the War in the East set. So, and of course, obviously, they've got War in the Pacific now as well. So they've added up another sort of avenue to go down. But anyhow, look, let's move swiftly on. So we're going to go through it line by line. So just to keep it logical, we start with AA 28703, which is the Fokker E3 Eindecker of the famed Ernst Udet. representing aircraft in March 1916. So World War One isn't my forte. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Michael join yet, because I would have had to put Michael on to the camera, although he'd probably be doing naughty things to himself, thinking about World War One stuff. I know what he's like when it comes to a Fokker or an Albatross. So, guys, I'm going to hand over to you. So I'll go to Christian first. So, Christian, Eindecker, is it up your street?
I haven't got one yet, but this will definitely be my first one. I didn't get the first one because I just wanted to see how the tooling would develop. I can't remember why I didn't get the second one, but I am a World War One fan. I've got about 15 of them up there. So, yeah, no, I'll be getting this one for sure. I think he was the second highest ace in for the German Air Force, and the highest that survived the war. So that sounds like a pretty much gimme with that one. So yeah, no, I'll be getting it. I think it's a fabulous release. So I think it's
I still pilot, and I mean, obviously, he played a massive part in the founding of the Luftwaffe, and from that point of view, and have they done one of Göring's aircraft in World War One?
They've done the it was a D7, but it was the all white one. Yeah. And they actually modified the tooling slightly to incorporate like changes in the cockpit or something that was like specific to Göring as well. But yeah, that's
a little fat man in a massive fat man in
expanded. Yeah,
hanging over the side.
Yeah, that one's lovely, and it's a really hard one to get hold of. But yeah, the actual, just coming back to the Eindecker, it's brilliant because as they've gone on with that tooling, they've continuously improved it. Because the first one, it didn't have the wood grain prop, it had the phantom strut between the legs, which they of course removed for the second one. And now on this one, they've got the sort of printing for the turning pattern that was on the cowling. Very, very distinctive feature on Eindecker, and it was sort of missing from the first two releases. So it shows that they've sort of got that now in check, and I think this is going to be it should be the nicest one of them all. It seems to have a little bit of weathering on it as well. Second one had some, but perhaps not enough. But I mean, obviously, you can only take the picture on the artwork with a grain of salt. Yeah. If it turns out anything like that, then you know, jobs are good, and really, and it looks fantastic, and it will certainly be joining my shelves for sure.
Wicked. So, to buy or not to buy, basically, lads. So, will you be looking to add this to your collection? So, Sam, I'm guessing that's a yes from your emphatic answer.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. Christian, I guess based on not having the first two, it sort of ticks. No, iconic pilot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely good. Johnny.
I mean, look, for me, I mean, the Eindecker is really flimsy. It's amazing that people would go to war in such a flimsy aircraft. But I mean, World War One's not really one of my big focuses, and where I've slowed down is I would say no for me. But that's not because it's a good-looking model. It's a very, very impressive-looking model. I think that, going with the iconic pilot, I think it's a real winner for me. I think it's easy money. World War One's a really good avenue. They've got history with the great schemes and great, delivering great aircraft. So I think it's a real winner. Good stuff from Corgi. So moving swiftly on, and this is in the second World War One release, and it's AA28803, and of course it's the third Bristol fighter. Not that I predicted this on the Model Hangar free forum, but I did suggest there'd be a third Bristol fighter with a two-blader. And also, Eagle-Eyed Mark did notice it in the about a week before they announced the release.
They teased it, this guy. Didn't they? Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I've got the first two, so I will be looking to absolutely. I'll get straight in there now, and I'll be looking to if I can get this, I will do. Things have happened over the last year and a half that's slowed me down, but hopefully getting through that now. So, but for me, I'll be looking to get this. I think it's an incredible looking scheme. Covers an area not often thought about. North Africa in World War One is one of Turkey. I guess we talk about a bit, don't we, with Gallipoli and stuff like that. But it's one of them things. I guess it's not really covered very often. But it's got it's one of the. I would say it's probably one of the models of the year when it first released. What 2-3 years ago now? I'd imagine. Yeah. Christian, was it? It's unbelievable, unbelievable detail. Yeah, and I guess being a Flying Legends fan, I remember being there when the three of them all flew together, and that was no, I wouldn't go as far as saying spine tingling, but it was brilliant to see. So over to you first, Sam. So what's your thought on the Bristol Fighter?
It looks lovely. I'm not going to lie. And again, like you say, you know, North Africa is not an area in World War One that you normally think about. But it's the thing is with this scheme, it's substantially different, or different enough to the first two to purchase and to sit next to it. And of course, being the two-blader as well. But yeah, like I say, absolutely fantastic tooling, as you guys have already sort of highlighted. It was great to see, obviously, with the they did the Hornby model world where they showed they being sort of LiDAR scanned was all really interesting, and it's it's a really cracking tooling. And so yeah, I think possible purchase. I think the obviously the price sitting at 85 quid, it's a lot of money. But in terms of the technical, when you look at it, when you have one in front of you, it is a massive thing compared to your other World War One aircraft.
Huge.
So yeah, I think it sort of does in that sense remain good value, of course. But yeah, it's all. I'm trying to make it out. I've got a picture of it in front of me. It's kind of all sort of silvery type effect, really, isn't it? That's that particular scheme. Yeah,
with like a camel sort of stripe, I guess, for the rear fuselage. I don't know what colour the wings are, though. It's really difficult to tell. I'd imagine they're silver on the top, but it's. I mean, look. I'm trying to zoom in now. It's definitely silver to grey, but the wings might be a different colour on top. I can't really tell from the artwork, but it just looks nice, doesn't it? It's just not one colour. It's eye catching for me. With the first two being sort of olive drab, it marks something out like significantly different and interesting. Because the danger with a lot of the British, not so much the Luftstreitkräfte aircraft, but a lot of the British ones, there's a danger of like just hammering out loads of olive drab ones, because they were a lot more strict in terms of what you could and couldn't do with your aircraft back then. Yeah. So yeah, it looks fantastic, and it should be a winner. Yeah. It says expected summer 2023 as well on that one. So Christian.
There is a picture on the hangar of the actual model, and it's the same. The upper surfaces are the same colour as the fuselage. So I'm thrilled. I had the first release. I haven't got the second one yet, but I kind of intended to at this stage. And I ordered it, and I thought I'll just get the second one, and that'll do me. But this, it's a completely different scheme from a different sort of campaign. But the best thing of all is that this model will attract Australian collectors, because this actual aircraft served with the #1 Squadron of Australian Flying Corps for most of its career, and only served a very short time with the Tremblers. So this will be a definite buy for me. So I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to join my Australian shelf. So that's 2 Australian World War One releases. Corgi. So I'm chuffed.
Is that a clean sweep of everybody would want it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wicked. Happy days. Look at that. Look. So we're doing pretty well so far.
Shout out to Sid Huey for spotting that and providing all the history of it. So I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for him. So good on him. So we're the Australian release. Sorry, Blighty.
No, that's all right. Look, it doesn't matter if it's Australian. At the end of the day, it's an interesting scheme from an interesting part of a war, I guess, people don't really explore. So they've ticked a number of different boxes there, I guess. So, no, fair play again. They've done really well. I mean, it's a real winner, isn't it? It's a great model. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying you could paint it pink and people would still buy it, but I mean, it's certainly a great looking bit of kit. Right, so on to my forte now, not to be too selfish and make it all about me, but World War II. And like the first catalogue, the World War II fan base has been well catered for, I think it's fair to say. So the very first one, this is one I've been predicting for about 3 or 4 catalogues. Sorry, as one of the dogs comes along and just licks my hand randomly now. There isn't somebody under the desk licking my hand. It is a dog. I just want to clarify that if anybody is worried. They're crying at me now. is, of course, the C-47A, which is night fright, which is just nearing its return to flight status at Coventry, I believe it is, and it's going to be based at Membry, where it was based during World War II. That is AA 38211, and it's representing the aircraft on the 5th and 6th of June 1944. And of course, it's got I'm guessing they look like some sort of canisters underneath, which are like kit carrying canisters or something like that underneath. I don't know the exact terms. So, and I think there's some other different aerials on there as well. But I'll hand over to you, Christian, first. So a D-Day DAC or C-47 or Skytrain in this case. What's your thoughts on it?
I think it's actually a very good release. It's again, I think it's the 101st Airborne Division. Which is interesting because I think Sean pointed out that we haven't really seen much in the way of D-Day DACs from the 82nd Airborne. But apart from that, I think it's a fantastic release. I think Corgi were very clever by adding the under fuselage canisters. I've been trying to find out if that was common in D-Day, but regardless, I think it's a great little innovation. And the fact that it's going to be flying in the UK soon, I think it's a very clever release. I have one Corgi C-47 DC-3, and that's a code 3. So I'm actually rather tempted with this one. Where the hell I'm going to put it, I don't know. But this is a cracking release, I think.
Yeah, don't worry about that, Christian. Just get it, just cram it in there. There's always room. That's my philosophy. Right. Sam?
Sure. Yeah, so it's great, absolutely great looking thing. I think I was reading on MH3 regards the canisters that they were like some sort of packed down sort of howitzer, like that it was in separate parts, and then they were obviously storing one within the aircraft that was sort of pushed when they jumped. But yeah, great that Corgi have incorporated that like they did. They did bits last time around for the for that sort of brother with the radar underneath and what have you. It looks like they've gone the same way. Just coming back to that release again with the D-Day stripes, because they look to be that sort of rough and ready applied rather than just sort of straight up. So tried to replicate that again. So that's a big thumbs up.
Yeah.
And in terms of would I buy it? I mean, purely because I had the last one. I would say probably not, because it's just it doesn't bring much more to the party than that one did. It's similar in terms of like theatre and like you say, we haven't had too many 80-second ones. So yeah, but it is lovely. And if I didn't have that sort of brother, I probably would sink some money into it. But yeah, like, looks absolutely the business. I mean, the Corgi C-47, I can kind of forgive it because of obviously looking at it. If I'm going to critique it, it could do with a little bit more dihedral.
Yeah, a lot more. To be honest with you.
But having said that, how many readily available 1/72nd scale models of C-47s are there out there? like
none.
decent one. There's absolutely none. Because of that, I can kind of forgive, and it will inevitably sell as well. But yeah, I think to modify it, I don't know, because it looks like the wings. I mean, looking at it, I'm not sure if the wings
like
are like separate enough.
It's flat like a hurricane.
Yeah,
it's way.
Yeah. Sure.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no.
I'm wondering whether it's something they can do like they've done with the Spitfire. Can they not invent a mould to press it? So there's a guy we talk about Model Hangar 3 all the time, Ara. He's been doing a lot of work with stuff like with the Spitfires, the old style Spitfire one, where he's been pressing it into soft carpet and bending it up. And obviously, you don't want to do it with a £100 model.
No. Because
if you've just picked up a £20 Spitfire and you're going to replace half the parts like he does anyhow, you happily have a crack at it. But I'm wondering whether when that metal comes off or the die-cast comes off, whether that can be pressed like the Spitfire and to form that wing, because it's bloody work.
Let's have a look.
It's done the job.
And see how the wings are actually mated to the fuselage, whether it's a separate part or not, whether you just reproduce the wing or. But I mean,
I'm just zooming in on it now, you can see the join where the wing is a separate piece, one whole piece. So
Yeah.
it can be done. It's whether they'd want to. I mean, they'd have to trial it, but if it's worked with a Spitfire, I'm sure there's going to be enough give in that metal. It's a thicker bit of metal, so there must be an opportunity to do that. And you're talking minuscule. You're talking a mil, maybe 2 mil at max.
Yeah.
You're not talking a massive bend. Be interesting if they could do that, because that again would make a really good model into a superb model just by making that thing. Because one of my mates, Kieran, who's in the Royal Air Force, he works on the A400s, and he thinks the scheme's amazing, but he won't buy it because it's flat winged. And I do get that, because you're spending 100 quid. If you're spending 100 quid on a Dakota, or you're spending 300 quid on a Hustler. Sorry, I've got to get it in now. You're going to have the same thing. You want it to be as accurate as possible, right? Sorry, don't laugh, Christian. That's naughty. Behave yourself, all right?
No. And there is sort of precedent for doing that kind of thing, because of course how they improve the canopy on the P40. So yeah, whether it would be too expensive or whether it's something they've looked at, who knows? I mean, I'm not a tool maker at the end of the day. I don't know what the complexities would be to that. So yeah, who knows? But food for thought, I guess.
Certainly something I'll bring it up with Michael when I chat to him next week anyhow. But like I said, that it's the difference between now, when you're years ago, if you're paying it was probably about 50 or 60 quid, or if you're in a model zone sale, 25, 30 quid for a Dakota, then you weren't really too bothered about it, because you take a chance of bending the wing or don't really need to. But when you're splashing out 3 figures, which is pretty much what it is, I certainly don't want to be buggering around, especially when you've got them bits on the bottom now as well, which adds complexity. You snap one of them off and suddenly you've got 2 off, you've done propeller, and you don't forget. But I mean, for me, not to take credit on this again, not me. I'm very modest. I actually spoke to Charlie, who runs Night Fright. So he's the guy who's he owns, I believe he owns Membry Aerodrome, or his business, or his parents' business, or whoever owns the aerodrome. And he's one who's obviously taken on Night Fright as a project from Florida all them years ago. And I, about 3 years ago, actually put him in contact with Corgi to get this done, purely because I just thought it'd be a good idea. And I love the fact that they could just be flying around air shows come 2024, because hopefully that's when it's going to be up and running, unloading 20 boxes of Corgi Dakotas and selling them like the Lancaster, like VRA did when Vera come over. Not that I don't like calling it Vera, but I just called it Vera now. VRA come over from Canada. And that's such a lovely thing, mating up, seeing an aircraft and taking that model away. And I think Corgi have looked at that and gone, that makes sense. Having that opportunity to sort of, I guess it interests kids as well. Not £100 it won't, but, I think they need to do more of that. I think where there's more air shows and there's more opportunity to link all the history together. MH434 is one that just screams out for me for the Spitfire. I'm sorry, I'm going slightly off track, but I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's a brilliant scheme. I like the fact it's different with the canisters underneath. I believe there's more aerials on it. I can't really tell because obviously the artwork doesn't give an awful lot away, does it? Until you've seen the model in the Diecast diaries, I guess we won't really know. But I think it's a great looking model, great bit of history. I think it's a real winner for me. I mean, I would look to get this if I can. I've already got 9 Dakotas, and C47s, but what's another one going to hurt? Do you know what I mean? It's a great looking scheme. I think they've done really, really well. So yeah, and I think it's ready to order now. I think it's due to be in stock in the next week or so. So they've gone really, really quick with that. So again, fair play to Corgi getting ahead of the game. And now let's move on to the one we sort of briefly chatted about before, which is obviously covering a new theme that Corgi want to cover, which is War Under the Sun. And it's AA 27112. It's a Messerschmitt Me109 G6 tropical version from Sicily in July 1943, representing an aircraft from the Italian Air Force. So over to Christian. Christian, do you want to have a little talk about that?
Well, I'll be back in a sec. I've got a dog running around.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So it's it is really nice. Look, as I was saying, you know, Italian aircraft and Corgi don't come up all too often, but it's lovely. And actually, they've been going pretty hard on the Gustav, like for the past few catalogues, really, haven't they? I mean, they just keep coming up because they obviously must sell a fair bit, of course. But yeah, so it's German markings that have sort of been painted over. So it's a bit of a mishmash. But so it's going to be, if they get it spot on, it'll be a beautiful little thing. And even though I don't have really too many Italian aircraft, it's still something that I would look to purchase because it would sit quite nicely besides or like your normal Luftwaffe stuff or anything if you've got a like a med theme going already. So yeah, really lovely. It looks like I don't know if that's a gun pod under the wing because it's not showing on the other wing.
Also looks like a larger drop tank as well. I'm just zooming in on it now. The drop tank looks different to the ones that we have already. It looks bigger. Maybe it's just the artwork. I'm just trying to zoom in on it. But yeah, I think it looks incredible.
Yeah, it's got the correct sort of tropical filter on there, tropical air filter. So yeah, looks like a real cracking bit of kit. That, not gonna lie. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see because whether it's sort of testing the waters for other sort of potentially more left field stuff, because traditionally Corgi have been a bit sort of cagey on that front, releasing aircraft of a similar nature. So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and I hope it does sell because then that sort of lets them know that yes, you know, this is stuff that people are actually going to buy, and maybe it could segue into a whole different theme for them. But yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, spot on. Christian?
Cracking tooling, as we all know, the Gustav is one of the best toolings, World War II single engine fighter toolings around. It's a really interesting release, and I really like it. It's a fantastic scheme. I think they picked the right scheme for an Italian release. What does it mean for the future? I don't know. I think it's wise not to get too optimistic about the future for Italian stuff, particularly the idea of new tooling. But if this flies off the shelves really, really quickly, then who knows? But yeah, it's been out of Corgi's, you know, MO. Like, they really haven't done anything like this in a while, have they?
No, it's all been very standard, Luftwaffe or RAF or USAF. Was that all? Yeah.
And because of that, I think that's fantastic, and good on them. And I hope it does well. I hope it's a risk. There's a tiny little gamble there, but fantastic scheme. And anyone who has a MTO theme probably would want to, you know, have it join your theme. Small model as well, so you know you'd be able to jam it in there. You know, you cram for space. So I think it's a cracking release.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. As much as I think we all hope to see something like Falgore or an SM79, as much as the part of me says, you know what, that'd be brilliant, it'd be great, I just don't see the longevity in them. So an SM79, for example, is a lovely looking aircraft. I just can't see somebody going and buying 3 of them. And I think that's where the problem lies with the potential new toolings of Italian aircraft. I just don't think there's that, like a Spitfire or a Messerschmitt, where you've got countless, a Mustang, you've got countless different schemes, fighter groups, squadrons, staffles, whatever way you want to call them. I just can't see them. I think it'd still be too much of a risk right now, especially with the price point and stuff like that.
I guess the T9 is a bit of an exception to that because, you know, there aren't going to be too many, particularly in that cockpit, because you've got the different cockpit configuration as well that you can actually produce off of that. But then again, it's being bankrolled. So yeah, but new toolings are of course going to be really then massive business expense, and that has to be approved higher up and higher up and higher up, doesn't it? So, and of course, then you've got like Vanguards, all the other Corgi bits and pieces to consider. So everything has to be made on a business standpoint, and will it sell? And they've obviously decided in this case that it will. So yeah, let's hope it pays off and they manage to shift 1,000 units.
Makes me wonder as well whether we might see, like I said, I wonder if it was on the agenda, the Russian Spitfire that's based at North Weald. It's very similar in the sense of the way it's been. I know Hobby Master have just churned it out in 148. Makes you wonder whether they'll look at that down the line as well. But I guess this is a bit of a litmus test, isn't it, to see how it gets on.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. You walk past that, even at an air show or you're in a model shop, which are very few and far between now, unfortunately. It catches your eye, doesn't it? And you go, do you know what? I haven't got something that ticks that box. Now, that Italian Stuka, though, was it a standard release, the Italian Stuka? I think it was, wasn't it? It wasn't a collector's club one, which is a standard normal release, wasn't it?
Yeah, just standard, I believe. Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea how it's sold, but I remember seeing lots of them in Model Zone at Lakeside at one point. So I don't think it flew off the shelves. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, it's a great, like Christian said, the ME109G is one of the finer moulds they've done. And, you know, it's must be about 10, 12 years old now, actually. It must have been knocking around in the sort of early teens of 2010s, 12, something like that. So I think it's a real winner. It's different. It's not garish in any shape or form. It's very pretty looking. And I think it ticks quite a few boxes. And I think that's due out in the next couple of weeks as well. So again, you know, they're setting themselves up to deliver rather than disappoint, which is something I guess what was the term I used in one of the videos before? Over-promise, under-deliver, was the expression. I'm reaching into all my retail cliches now, so apologies for that. But but fair play to them. It's good. It's really, really good. Anything else to add on that, lads? Christian's off again.
He's off. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered that. It's got like I'm trying to zoom in on this one. It's got an interesting just behind the cockpit there. I don't know if that's like a squadron marking or what have you. It's kind of a bit difficult to make out. Not the flag, a little bit in front of it. I don't pretend to be an expert on Italian World War II markings, but yeah, looks absolutely cracking. And then with the mottling as well, it all sort of combines, and it's one of those things where it shouldn't look right, but it kind of does. Yeah, because you expect, like, obviously the crosses and the typical camo on there, but no, it's brilliant and a bit left field, but yeah, great.
Yeah, I was just trying to have a look on that motive. It looks like a palm tree when you zoom in to the right of it on a circular motive, but I can't really tell exactly what it is. But look, regardless, I just love the way that the Italians have just gone, let's just get some green and slap it all over, cover up a few of the Balkan crust or whatever it's called, and off we go. But no, it looks a real mishmatch, but it's also like a pretty mishmatch, if that makes any sense. So it's decent, really decent. So look, moving on to its sister ship, I guess, which is sort of accompanying it, is the Colin Grey Operation Husky Spitfire 9, obviously the second release in the Spitfires. Oh, go on, mate.
Sorry, James just pointed out that Stuka was from the captured Eagles range.
Oh, is it? You're not
James was saying
No, you're thinking of a different one. That's the RAF one. There's two Italian technically then. There's an RAF one because Hobby Master did exactly the same thing, and there's a standard Italian one. So I think it was a split run where the Italian one was then shifted into a collector club one, which was overpainted with the RAF Randalls. I think there was a split run. That's how they done with Snafu, wasn't it? With War Eagle. They produced the same aircraft twice and then obviously adapted it to put it in a collector club. So there's two out there, and so there is two Italian ones. Well, three if you include the Hobby Master one. So there we go. Yeah, so now moving on to the second Spitfire 9 release. I'm yet to get the first one, but fingers crossed that's about to change in the next few weeks if all things go to plan. And I think it's fair to say it's been really well received, despite, I think, the only issue being that you can't remove the beer barrels, which has annoyed a few people. But that's what makes that aircraft particularly iconic, I guess. So, Colin Grey, there was a little bit of criticism around, well, his aircraft's been done before by Gemini Aces, but this is a different scheme. This is where he's got his own personal initials on the aircraft. Shortly, I think this aircraft was, reading on the history, is what he scored his last kills in. And we know what Operation Husky is. Is that Invasion of Sicily? I believe it is, isn't it?
What's the day? Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Either Sicily or Italy. So, but I'm pretty sure Husky was Sicily.
Yeah, I think it was. Didn't they do Sicily first?
Yes.
I can't remember anyhow, but regardless, it's a sexy looking scheme. I just think a desert Spitfire with a red nose, I'm all for it. I think it's, again, I would say it's a bit of a left field scheme though, to be honest with you. I'm surprised I haven't gone for a really iconic Spitfire like MH434 or MH415. But over to you, Christian, because you had to run off with the dog last time.
Yeah, sorry. Look, I think desert schemes are always great to see, and I don't know. I wish Corgi, as somebody pointed out, does Corgi know of any other Mark 9 pilots apart from Johnny Johnson and Colin Grey? I guess for those who have the Gemini Colin Grey release, this might cause pause. I really don't know much about the aircraft, so I'm trying to work out the timeline between the two Mark 9s that he flew, the Gemini release and this one. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the first one yet. I'm still sitting on the fence with that, whether I want to buy the first one or not. But it appears to be a great tooling. I think everyone's saying that it's as good at, or if not better than, the Gemini effort, which I think is important. We'll see. We'll see how a desert Spit goes. It'd be good if it sells, but if it doesn't, and which is it's also, I think you're right. It is a bit of a outlier, but I think it's going to look cracking, isn't it? Really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I've just
Yeah,
noticed. It's got the desert filter on as well, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's a later filter. It's not. There's two types of filter, isn't there? Yeah. Oh, there's an Avakia filter and what's the other one called? Help me out here. Vokes filter, isn't it? Vokes was on the 5, I think. So it has got a desert filter on. But look, I mean, it looks all right. I mean, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, with the Gemini, it's not that easy to get a hold of at all.
No,
and so
about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know when you found that one, you're a very happy boy. But
thank you, Jason, by the way, just to give him a shout out if he's still on here.
Sure. But yeah, it's obviously the Corgi Mark 9 has done. It's gone down. It's been received very well by and large. Again, to be a bit impartial, I mean, the only thing I would say on it is what on earth went on with the pilot figures, because they're looking on. Yeah, they're minuscule.
Really cool.
But yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't let that detract from what is a fantastic tooling, and I suspect that this will sell very, very nicely, because the first two haven't been out all that long. So anyone who's like kind of on the fence now has a choice. Okay, do I want the one with beer barrels, or do I get the desert one? So yeah, it's lovely, and it's, I mean, obviously Colin Grey, there's obviously the history's all there. They could have gone for someone else, but at the end of the day, they have to do like the famous chaps, the ones that are really going to be, oh, okay, yeah, no, it's sort of going to be recognised. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, I'm going to withhold quite a bit of judgment until the actual thing comes out. Just in terms of like desert colours, it's a bit harder to sometimes get that more spot on than the traditional RAF grey green. So yeah, but I've no qualms that it should come out as nice as the first two produced off of the back of that tooling. So yeah, jobs are good, and if it's nice, then I'll certainly be buying it, midget pilot figures or not. But so yeah.
No, look, again, I think just echo what you guys said. I think it's a bit of a left field choice. The fact that 2 Spitfires have been releasing new tooling and they've been unusual is, I guess, a little bit of a strap line for them to get. Because you've got to remember, regardless of it being a new tooling or not, if they banged out the same schemes they'd done previously, or Whitty had done previously, or Gemini had done previously, exactly the same schemes, then people would be going, well, I've already got one of them. Well, why do I need it? I don't need a Gemini, which is exactly the same as this Corgi. So I get why they've done that. I just think there's better aircraft to do. I just think, like I said, MH434 has been done by Whitty, but the Whitty tooling with its crappy slipper tank, or whatever they're called, it's just meh, isn't it? It's just a bit shy. So I would have thought, again, tying it in, but again, it's tying into that desert war theme. So James is gone now, but he was talking about where the Hurricane releases are. I would imagine there's going to be a new mould Hurricane, early Hurricane with a desert filter in the next catalogue, because it's a natural fit to tie it across, isn't it? Or Pat Pattle Hurricane, for example. Pat Pattle, Australian legend. Obviously got his Gladiator. Why haven't they done Pat Pattle? So maybe he's lined up to be done. I don't know. Did he die in Greece, Pat Pattle, or the desert, Christian?
Trying to remember.
I know he scored. He scored the most kills in one mission, didn't he? 5 Italian aircraft in one mission in Greece when he was flying his Gladiator. But I don't know if he died in Greece or whether he died. I know he definitely had a Hurricane at some point, so yeah. I don't know if he died in the desert or not. But he was the highest scoring ace at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was Greece.
It was Greece.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that might be one that's going to come up, because again, that's an area that's not only been covered with the funny Italian style Hurricane, I think, before, isn't it? I think that's probably the only, and the faux Blenheim from years back, which I believe didn't actually represent a Blenheim that flew there. But regardless, I'm going off pissed on it. I think it's a nice scheme. I just don't think it's going to sell super quick. Maybe I'm just being a little bit negative there. I just don't think it's going to be. I think people will look at it and go, yeah, it's nice, but do I really need it? That's the only thing I would say. But I mean, I would like to get it, to be honest with you, because I'm a Spitfire nut, and that's just me.
Yeah, they're pretty small, so it'll fit easily in the collection. I'll probably end up getting it in the end. I guess I'm just not super enthused. I think if I didn't have the Gemini Colin Grey Spit, I would be all over. But
again, you're talking about covering different bases. A New Zealand pilot,
yeah,
got an Australian, World War I aircraft, a German early, Eindecker. They're all covering different areas. So I think that was one of your criticisms in the first video. I watched it the other day before I thought about doing this, and one of your things was that you catered for World War II in the first catalogue, but they're all very around the same sort of theme. This time, actually, it does cover different themes, doesn't it? So maybe maybe it was in their thought process. Maybe they've taken the great words of Christian Oakley on board and built it into the strategy.
Trying to have a broad appeal and branch out to the Aussies and the Kiwis, who are obviously great supporters of the brand, and sometimes feel a bit left out, that things are too Brit centric. So it's but doing that with a pilot is a lot easier than doing, say, an actual aircraft. Although we are promised the Canberra at some stage when it turns up. But I was surprised it wasn't rolled out this time around. But I think they're potentially ironing out some issues with the actual tooling, I think they mentioned. So yeah, when that comes out, that'll be that'll be one to get certainly. But yeah, it's I don't know. On this one, I guess it sort of depends on how the desert colours sort of turn out. Because obviously the BF110 desert scheme they released earlier, it was just that little bit too light, and it can be sometimes a hard one to get spot on. So yeah, here's hoping it releases nice, but I guess that's not really necessarily down to Corgi. It's down to the factory and whether they can replicate it to a good enough standard.
So just as I'm just looking at the comments, and Glenn Calkin he's actually a Kiwi. He's just said he'd buy one. But just sort of tying it into, I know we were talking about the T9, so just tying it in. There is actually a New Zealand T9 in Colin Grey's colours, not in that scheme. I think it's FLA, wasn't it? His code originally, I think it's FLA, or something similar to that. And yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. But and this is obviously CG, it's his own personal squadron leader markings. I'm wondering whether that might be a little bit of a tie-in for them as an operator. You go flying in a New Zealand Spitfire. Oh, you've got a Corgi Spitfire in Colin Grey's colours here. Would you like to buy it? I don't know. Maybe that's in the thought process. But look, I think we'll move on. But I think it's a great looking mould. They've done a brilliant job with the casting. They fixed the bloody dihedral, whatever you want to call it, the D. I think it will sell. But it might be one of those ones that's a slow burner and might, when they open up the range of War Under the Sun, maybe a few more releases, maybe even people were enticed in to get it to complete that collection. But I think it was just Spitfire, and it can't go wrong with Spitfire, but we shall see. Only time will tell, won't it? So, anyhow, look, on to the last World War II release, and that is a P38L Lightning of the famous Putt Muru, representing the aircraft in 1945. The AA number is AA 36617. So the P38 Lightning, Sam, do you want to go first on that? I mean, look, like you say, famous aircraft in a pretty famous scheme. For me, it's just a little bit garish, but yeah, I mean, the P38, it's like you said with the Brist fit, like you can paint it up in any colours and it would still look nice. But it's not. I mean, scheme wise, it's not one I would have chosen personally. I noticed the price on it. I think that's crept up a little bit because they were. I can't recall if they used to price it around the same amount as like a single engine fighter, but it's it's on there for 70 quid, and I don't remember it being that much previously. But it was 64.99. I can't remember what last one was 64.99. It might have been
Jack's Go Buggy.
Happy Jack's Go Buggy was 64.99. I'm sure it was. So maybe that has kept up. I can't remember, mate.
But yeah,
you never pay Corgi prices, do you? Sorry, Corgi.
No. But yeah, I think there were potentially sort of other lightnings that could have been looked at, but I mean that one. I mean that tooling's getting on a bit. Yeah.
Beautiful. The Red Bull one, the old silver shiny Red Bull one. Again, airshow goer. I don't know, but again, it's not got any operational history. But they fit it into this war in the Pacific.
And I feel like as well on that, you'd need some sort of licensing agreement with Red Bull to produce that. Yeah. You couldn't just go and make it. So yeah, and then obviously that's an additional cost. But...
And it has been done by Herpa as well. So Herpa have knocked up the Red Bull one. It's bloody hard to find, but it is out there.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of the actual scheme personally. It's not one I would have chose, but yeah, it's med again. So I suppose it sort of ties in. But I mean, what I would say is, I mean, they're great models, but they really need to do something on the sort of packaging side of things. Because I've had the last two. I've got Miss Virginia and also Happy Jack's Go Buggy, and yeah, trying to pop those out of the box without damaging it is a bit of a
that wing is
bit of a struggle. Yeah,
the wing
yeah.
is it's the flimsiest part. That and the tail unit. You take that out, you are literally, you know, it is squeaky bum time trying to get it out of the box. But yeah, you're right on that, absolutely. The Herpa version, so I've got is it Skidoo, which is the one based at Plains of Fame. That was so much easier to get out. It's the old Witty mould. But if I remember rightly, the undercarriage doors were an absolute arse to get on, a real arseache to get on. Sorry, the dogs have just knocked over my Pepsi Max. The joys of having two German Shepherds, to say the most intelligent dogs in the world. My two, honestly, absolute dick sticks, couple of dick sticks. One of them just slumped his head down next to me as if to say, "Yeah, it was me. It was me, Dad. Sorry."
Sorry,
Dad, Christian. Yeah. So moving on to Christian. Sorry, Christian.
I think it's an iconic scheme, so I think it'll do well. I think it'll be very popular in America. I kind of, I like the garishness of it. It's covered in kills. It's a well-known pilot. It's got some cultural awareness for all the nutters out there. I think it's what is it? A low-hanging fruit. I think it's a good release and it'll do well.
See, for me, I've already got a War Master version of this. So War Master, before they got taken over by Solido, released a number of the old XO moulds, and it was basically just a better paint job on the same tooling, the same crappy. I say crappy. I mean, actually, I'm being really disrespectful because the XO mould, I'm sure you lads have probably got a few of amongst your collections.
Yeah,
you know, they make some real rare subjects that you can't get by the mainstream guys. Just sometimes they let themselves down with rubbish undercarriage or bits that just don't fit right. So I've got that, and it's pretty decent, you know. But the other problem I have, I wouldn't ordinarily get that, is I've got every Corgi P38 release that's ever been done, apart from the one that was cancelled. You know, there was two that's cancelled actually, wasn't there? There was a blue US Army Air Force PR one representing aircraft at the Med, and there was this other one which IXO covered in the part works, which is a green Pacific based P38 with I think it's the dragons on the nasals.
Yeah,
it's got a funny name like a Hawaiian name like Harrier Gr5 or something like that. Sorry, I can't remember the exact name. Yeah, but yeah, I've got everyone bar them, so they must exist out there.
Harry Carrier.
No, that's the B-25 from the Doolittle raid. It's Harry Cooley or something. It was on the Model Hangar forum actually the other day. Somebody shared a picture from Flying Mule with it. So I'm stuck. Part of me says I don't want it, but inevitably I'd probably end up trying to get it further down the line. But it's not, for me, it's not an immediate one I'm going to go after. Again, you know, it's the sole release in the War and Pacific range. I think it ticks loads of boxes, like Christian just said. It's an iconic scheme. It used to represent there was an airworthy version of this based in Florida, owned by a guy called Tom Blair, who based half of his collection in this country, sold them all on now. It's been repainted, but, you know, people would have seen it at air shows out and about. You know, it's a famous aircraft from a famous time. I think it will sell well. I think my only concerns with it, and I think you mentioned it, Sam, was that it's an aging tooling. So Miss Virginia was particularly gappy, yet when it come to Happy Jack's Go Buggy, it was much better and much tighter, 100%. So they've done something in between those two. And when I say it was gappy, I mean 172, you've got no margin of error, have you? So any slight mil gap looks like you could get.
And of course, that would sort of vary from model to model. You know, what if you get an example that they've tightened up or perhaps not. So yeah, I mean personally, I would have liked to have seen like Skidoo. For me, but
Tangerine. There's Tangerine. Thoughts of Midnight. That's another one, isn't it?
Yeah,
another really famous. But there's also one. I think it's like white 14 or something like that. It's one with the, it's got something on the nasals, and I forget what it is, but it's beautiful. It's one of the more early releases. But then you've got Glacier Girl as well, which is, you know, that should have come to this country a few years back, and that was also a cancelled P38, if I remember rightly. Christian, was it? That was announced at one point and then got cancelled.
I don't recall. To be quite honest.
Certainly it did. I think they had issues around getting the early style engines and the filters right, because it needed a bit of a remod. So I don't think they carried it out because it was like either a mid to late model. So I think they can do it, but look, we'll see. I think it will sell. I think you're right. Our US cousins will rightfully go pretty mad for it, I would hope. I think it's a real winner. I think, for one, I'm holding fire on, but I would like to get further down the line. It's just, like I said, until we know what's going on with the rest of that range, the War in the Pacific range, I'm guessing they're going to tie it into anniversaries over the next year or so.
Yeah.
But War in Pacific, does that mean B29 potentially coming? I don't know, but that's...
We'll see.
That,
Pacific
please,
RAF, RAAF, and Royal New Zealand Air Force aircraft.
Yeah, lots of P40s, early P40s as well. That could be done. So the options are there, and of course we'll chat about it later, but the Marauder as well, Ding Dong. That's one we'll be looking to go. So anyway, that covers World War II. So we're going to go on to our final two aircraft now. We'll do the Harrier last, I think. So the Typhoon, representing. Sorry, bear with me. Let me get me picture up. Representing a Typhoon FGR4 of number 11 Squadron, an Operation Ellamy in 2011. Standard grey Typhoon workhorse with a painted black cockpit, we all hope. So over to you, Christian, I guess.
This hasn't been released in 1-72, this serial, has it? It's a completely different serial. Is that right?
I'm not entirely sure, mate. I'm not entirely sure. Looking at the scheme, there was an Ellamy. There was an Ellamy release, wasn't there? Let me have a quick Google. Go on, you carry on talking, and I'll see if I can find it.
I think it's got bomb markings on it. It's an operational scheme. It's a Tiffy. It's a really, notwithstanding the black issue with the first release, it's a very good tooling. If this doesn't sell, I think 148 and Corgi's in trouble. It looks fabulous. We'll wait and see what it looks like in the flesh, but I think it'll be very popular. I think it'll be popular at the air shows too. I think because so
looking at this scheme, Christian, it looks exactly the same.
ZJ95, but it's probably a different serial.
It might be a different serial, but the squadron's exactly the same. The motives on the side are exactly the same. Yeah. It's got DJ on this one, and the original one, I'll see if I can find a better picture of it. Sorry, bear with me.
The
AA 364406.
Yeah, ZJ933, I think was the 172. And that's DF on the fin.
Different serial.
So
this is DJ.
Yeah.
This is DJ.
Yeah. So very, very, very similar, I suppose. Obviously we're all expecting an operational Typhoon, and it's great to see one obviously with the stores on it as well. But after obviously what went awry with the first one, hopefully this should be really nice. Incidentally, I think it was it Tiger Hobbies? They sold like a corrected version, where they actually took a few and they actually painted the cockpits black and then sold them on at RRP. I might add, they didn't really put any extra on, which actually I thought was quite decent. That, but
a lot of
it's
he does after his customers.
Yeah, that's it. So. So it's got the obviously it's got the laser guided bombs and everything, the ASRAAMs. So it should sell quite nicely, I would have thought. if you're waiting for an operational one, then I suppose here it is. But we're fully expecting like an op Ellamy or an op shader release or something along those lines. And I guess the third one would have to be blackjack, really, wouldn't it?
I think they've got a few issues around licensing with the RAF around that. But yeah, I think it was in one of the Diecast diaries or was it one of the videos that David, I think, mentioned that blackjack is planned to be done, but they were looking for it to be the third release. I mean, it needs to be done, doesn't it? It's an iconic aircraft. To be honest, I'm surprised they went with GNA first. They might have been better going with this release first. Let's just hope they don't paint everything grey. Surely they can't get it wrong twice, he says. I just hope that they've learned Chinese down in Margate, because if they become fluent in Chinese and specifically black, what's the chance of the whole aircraft turning up black this time? You know, it could go the other way. Christian, so what do you think then? You think it's a solid effort?
I think it's a very solid. It's got a hot bit of crap hanging underneath the wings. It's an operational scheme. It's an iconic British aircraft. It's an obvious release. I hope it does well. I really do. I really do hope it does well. I hope it flies. But as I said, I suspect it'll be quite popular at the air shows if Corgi, Riyadh Corgi ensures it has a fair bit of exposure at the air shows. I think it'll do well. If it doesn't, as I said,
I've not heard any more about the GNA version though. What they're planning to do, because they must have lots of excess stock of it. So I've not heard what they plan to do with GNA, or whether it's going to go back to the factory for a bit of a rejig, or they're going to just sell them as is, reduced. I've literally no idea. Because it is quite.
I fully expect that at some point that'll probably just be discounted, like what happened with the Happy Jacks P51, and they ended up just knocking some off the price to the ones that were still sitting about on the website. So yeah, but I don't know. I think sort of it for Corgi, sort of economically, obviously it's one thing Gary doing it, you know, painting those himself, but or getting someone to do it, but send them back to the factory. I don't think really they're gonna spend that sort of cash on it. Because it's not like something you can correct like by producing an additional part. Like the cockpit needs to come off. It's quite an involved, from collectors that have done it. It's quite an involved process, isn't it? So yeah,
absolutely.
It's not easy.
But it looks like I've got to get the work experience boy out with a bit of black Umbro paint and an airbrush. But yeah, you're right. It's not the easiest. I think the cockpit is the main issue in getting that off. And getting the cockpit off is the main problem on it. But look, I think it will sell. I think it's a brilliant piece of diecast. It's not, I know they ballsed up the paint, but it is a brilliant bit of kit. They've done a great job on it, and I guess it was heartbreaking. Golden Quarter, their biggest, their cash cow, their golden goose, and it come through not a bit of a donkey, to be honest with you. But look, that's the factory, isn't it?
Are we convinced that 148 has been a success for Corgi?
Well, they're great models. I'll give them that. I don't know what it is financially for them. I can't say, but they've done a great job with the actual models, whether it be the Phantom, whether it be and they've listened as well, which I think is the key thing. Like with the Phantom with the open cockpit. I mean, I can't believe they went ahead with the first one with a closed cockpit though, but. But it's the little things. If you're paying top dollar, you want it to be absolutely right. The Lightning's an amazing bit of kit. I think the Tornado will be unreal. The options you've got with that in terms of weapons and schemes, and again, it's an aircraft with real history. With great respect to the Typhoon, it's not really done much, is it? You've got two,
and then it's like with the Tornado as well. It's like why not an Italian or German one? And you could say the same thing about the Eurofighter, couldn't you? So who knows?
That's it. And there's some amazing Luftwaffe schemes on Typhoons. amazing. Austrian ones as well. Like they don't muck around. The RAF, with the greatest respect to the RAF, they painted up an aggressor-looking Typhoon with a few bits of red, white, and blue, which is quite flamboyant from their point of view, because they're usually quite. They usually stick a big sticker on the tail, don't they? It's the RAF's way of dealing with it. But look, I think it's great. It's expected summer 2023, so I bet the guys at Corgi are chomping at the bit, waiting to see this sold. I mean, this could be a really big seller based on the fact that lots of people might have cancelled the Eurofighter and the first one, the GNA one. And I do get, if you're paying 180 quid and something isn't right, I do get that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not a massive issue. But it just really spoils a great model, doesn't it?
Great.
Yeah. No, I wish that honestly, obviously going into 148 would be might have been a bit of a risk when they first brought the Lightning out, but it seems to have paid off, because if they weren't selling, they wouldn't keep pumping money into them. So yeah, I mean, but again, it'd be nice to see some early Lightnings as well, because then you sort of get access to the really sort of flamboyant and iconic schemes, and people are I think crying out for those, really, aren't they?
Yeah, completely agree.
Too. A slightly different mark, slightly different. And the FGR2 with the ground attack Phantoms, particularly the German-based ones, I reckon they'll be very popular.
There's lots of, I'm surprised, actually. I thought maybe Black Mike might have trickled through as the third Phantom this time around, but I guess it makes sense to sort of almost cap it at 2 148s per catalogue. Maybe we'll see the third Phantom with the Tornado in the last catalogue of the year. But there's so much, there's endless possibilities with all of those aircraft. So again, a decent job. I think I think more people will go for that one than they will do GNA. So anyhow, on to the final one, which is obviously it was announced in the 2022 catalogue, but didn't quite make it over the line, and that is, of course, the BAE Harrier. In this case, it's a GR7A representing RAF's #1 squadron, which has got quite a lot of history in the Corgi aviation range. And yeah, they had a box set of one squadron with a older style 172 Harrier in it. I know Tony Osborne, who does play quite a bit of a role with Corgi, obviously works at the Ulster Aviation Museum. He did say that the artwork was shit. I don't think you quite use that term, to quote Mr. Lee. But he did say the artwork is crap. And when you do look at it, it looks very white. I'm not quite sure that's meant to be the colour. And a bit pixely, so I don't know what's gone on now. But this is retailing at 30 quid cheaper than the Typhoon. Obviously, that is under 80 quid, so it's not cheap by any means. I think this looks the dog's danglies. I think this is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. I think it could be their real golden goose this year. So over to you, Sam. What do you think?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't Hobbymaster done this exact one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, like in terms of like the actual tooling itself, I've no doubt, especially if it's got the moving intakes and what have you, all the features that are unique to the Harrier. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And some of the stuff I've seen in Diecast diaries about it, like the development of it, it looks fab. And obviously then you've got price-wise and space-wise, it's maybe slightly more appealing in a way than the Eurofighter, because it's priced 30 quid less, and it's not going to take up as much display space, even in 148, because it's a small aircraft. But it's not the one I would have chosen for the first release. But I've no doubt, artwork aside, that it will turn out lovely. But yeah, I wouldn't have gone for this one purely on the basis that one, Hobbymaster have already done it, and two, I think there are just better schemes out there. So they've tooled up. Have they gone GR5 to GR9?
I think GR3 to 7 was the.
No,
I can't remember.
So based on the tooling pictures that were announced, that was shown a while ago with all the bits and pieces. It's GR5 to GR9, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Not the GR3. GR3 is, I mean, this is essentially the GR5 to GR9 is essentially the Harrier 2.
Yeah.
So, in American speak. So, so it won't be the GR3.
I know he's tooled up to do an American, US Marine version.
Yeah.
I mean, carry on talking. Let me just double check. I'll see if I can find the actual article for it on Diecast Diaries.
By all means. But yeah, I mean, it's. I suppose back in the day it was like with the with the nose art it was a bit iconic, but I mean to have it repeated when we've already got it in 170 seconds, I don't know, but don't let that take away from the fact that it's going to be an absolutely lovely model, as I don't doubt that it would be if they get it if they get it right. But yeah, just not the scheme. Personally, would have gone for. I think James sort of echoed that sentiment as well. So yeah.
Yeah, just looking at it here, I mean, there's quite a lot of information. So, yeah, the British Harrier 2, which is basically the Harrier GR5. So, yeah, so it is 5 to 9. Well done, Christian. You're paying attention clearly. But, yeah, just reading through it, there's a number of different toolings for the nose. And it's all been LiDAR scanned as well. And, yeah, it can represent RAF and Joint Force Harrier and US Marine Corps variants, this famous aircraft. So, yeah. It won't involve a Shah, though. Obviously, a Shah is a completely different piece of kit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's clever with that is that if you've gone down the Shah route, you talk about that Brit-centric thing. You leave out our cousins over the pond. And I guess that also includes, I can't see them doing a Spanish or Indian version, but again, the Spaniards and Indians both use the 2 as well, didn't they? But look, it just opens up more options. But I think it's pretty fucking brilliant, to be honest with you. I think it's going to look the dog's danglies. So just looking at some of the pictures there, just a quick review. But is this one you'll be looking to get, Christian?
I'm assuming that the colours will be good. Ian has assured us that on MH3. I think it looks fantastic. Now, the scheme's an interesting one, but just that overall thing regarding Corgi. Corgi have been exceptionally clever, and I don't say this about Corgi that often. Corgi have been exceptionally clever with their new toolings lately because they've managed to tool their new toolings in a way that is adaptable for a whole heap of marks which broadens their capacity to, it broadens their left and right of arc for what they can choose. They've done it with this. They've done it with the Beaufort. It appears they've done it with the Beaufighter. The Lightning can do it. It's just very, very clever.
The Spitfire can as well. I think they've told the different wing types, haven't they, for the Spitfire?
I think that. And so
they're stretching it. They're stretching the usage of it.
Yeah. So, back in the day, they would create one mark and then they would either release a new tooling or modify the bejesus out of the old tooling. It can never be used again for the old mark. So I think Corgi, I just wanted to say that, I think Corgi have been exceptionally clever. And that's my segue onto this scheme. It's a fantastic scheme. I agree. Corgi, HM have already released it. And when you think about, I assume that the GR7 is the first one, but when you think about it's one of the most operational aircraft in RAF infantry, in RAF infantry ever. Two wars in the Middle East, in Iraq, Afghanistan, Yugoslavia, and all those wars. There is a plethora of potential releases. I think it's going to look absolutely amazing, and when you see it with all the underwing stores down, I think it's just going to look fucking cracking. But I agree. Is this the best? I think it'll do well regardless. I really do. It's a game. I think it'll probably do well. And I know
it's only the first release. Like there'll be more to come. I'm probably going to sit back and wait and see which other ones they produce. But yeah, I'm sure those who do end up buying it, obviously when it does come out, it'll be fantastic, and they would certainly not be disappointed. Because now I think 148 is probably the scale for the Harrier, if I'm being honest. Because
Yeah.
172 is just a bit. It's a bit of a titchy little thing, really,
Like
in that scale. So
it's like,
yeah,
and that's it's like the Wildcat. The Wildcat, I guess. I know there was discussion about that being in 172, but it's tiny. And no, I think you're right. I think it gives it the opportunity to see that detail. And it will sit alongside the Tornado, the Typhoon, and the Lightning and the Phantom, and it will just look, get one in green and grey. Just do a green and grey one, God damn it.
yeah.
That's not the apple one, not the apple green one. We don't want the apple green one. Just Corgi, let's not do the apple green one. The green one done right would be nice, but not the apple green. Just leave that alone. But got all the retirement schemes to do, and look, I think it's look. Like I said, I don't think the artwork is actually going to reflect what the aircraft's going to look like. I think it will look a little bit different to that. But again, real winner for me. Winner, chicken dinner. So I am conscious that, like a Sting and Trudy Styler tantric sex session, this has gone on for an hour and 20 minutes already. But I guess that's the joy of that's a brilliant analogy to use, that, isn't it? I just thought of that myself. I'm conscious that I don't want people to be bored to death. I just see Matt has joined. Anybody don't know Matt? Matt is a lucky bastard. He gets to work on the Lynx. He gets to work on the Hunter. He gets to fly in the Lynx. You're a lucky bastard, Matt. Just want to tell you that. And I've still got a P38 standing sitting behind me. So look, that's all I covered. I think we've done this every catalogue review. So we'll start with Christian, because obviously he's from further afield. If you was to mark it out of 10, what would you give it? The overall catalogue.
In the context, this is one of 3 announcements throughout the year. This is a strong 8, I think. I'd like to see a helicopter. I think that's the one that's missing a little bit. Maybe is a helicopter. But yeah, a strong 8, I believe. I reckon. Yeah, cool. Sam.
Yeah, I would. I think I'm gonna second that. To be fair, yeah, very much a strong 8, possibly touching 8.5. But yeah, very positive, and to be honest, it's good to see that we're all sort of very happy with Corgi, because yeah, and it's great, for the hobby, and long may it continue. So yeah, really thrilled with that. And yeah, what about yourself, Mark?
So, do you know what? I'm going to say something now that every catalogue release, Christian is always really, really positive about it on Model Hangar 3, and I would give that a shout out. So if anybody don't use the forums, MH3 forum, which is basically Model Hangar 3, is full of people like us who absolutely love diecast aircraft and are fascinated by it, and some real knowledge on there. There's people involved in projects with Hobby Master, with Colgi and stuff like that. And he's always really enthusiastic about it, and then it comes along and he's a bit sort of, I'm really dejected, actually it's all right, that's good, but it's never quite what he wants it to be. Yeah. I think, looking at his little smiling, happy Australian face down there, I'm going to say this is the best Corgi catalogue release in years, in terms of getting a majority of areas covered. Yes, we've not got a Bomber Command, or we've got a Battle of Britain or anything like that, but you look at the themes covered, they've gone, right, we're going to go after this, and we're going to have a crack at, actually opening up. We're going to do War in the Desert, because we're coming into that, 43 is 80 years ago, whatever it is now. I think they've nailed it. If you look at the quality of the aircraft, there's, for me, the weakest one of them is probably the P38, purely because, not that it's been done to death, but there's been quite a few P38 releases over the last few years. Yeah. But the 2 World War I are cracking. The 109 is completely different to anything we got. The Spitfire is a winner. You can't go wrong with it. The Dakota is, to quote myself, jizzy. And I think the two 148s are absolutely banging as well. So I think they've nailed it. I think, you know, there's definitely imperfections. So the Dakota, if they could do something with the wing in terms of the Hydra and the wing, makes a good model into an amazing model, which is just it's those fine margins. But I'm going to go with 8 out of 10. And you know, if I compare it to the first catalogue, which all felt a bit of a massive letdown. You know, there was a lot of toxicity, to use that word, on the forums, on Facebook, on the group, on Instagram, wherever it may be, because people were so disappointed that there was only 3 releases plus a T9, which was advertised in the 2022 one. Actually, well done, Corgi, because what you've done is now managed to get people's trust in you back, because you're bang on it. Your next catalogue, you're releasing the aircraft first week of May.
Yeah.
And you're on it, and you're on. And don't be wrong, there's less COVID, there's less. I mean, I don't know what China's like for going on strike, but if they're like the UK, it'd be a bloody nightmare. You get nothing. That's why there's no bleeding factories in the UK, because every other week we want to go on strike. We're turning into the new French, and I think all those problems taken away now are showing they've got a good factory that's working hard for them. And we'll get on to the next bit in a minute. I know there's something you want to discuss, Christian, but the factory is churning out decent models. The only thing I would say is I can't see the prices coming down now. I think 60 quid is going to be the, you know, the level which that size fighter is going to be. I would love them to say, do you know what, we're going to bring a budget range out, and like the Legends or Warbirds range, and get different collectors in through the door and do a 30 quid range, or whatever it may be. But I just can't see that happening, because I don't think it's a profit. At the end of the day, it's about profit margins. They've got business to run. But yeah, look, I think it's brilliant. I mean, for me, the most frustrating thing for me is that I'm in a position where collecting's sort of taken a bit of a back seat in my life for the moment. But once you're a collector, you're always a collector, aren't you? If you stop, doesn't mean you can't start again. So look, I think it's really exciting. You know, once I get out to hopefully a couple of air shows this year, and I have a few quid in my pocket, I might get 1 or 2 more additions to an already packed man cave. But this is positive. It's really positive. It feels weird doing this now, because the last one we all sort of felt a bit, oh shit, is the hobby dying? Is it, you know, is it not? Is it ever going to recover? Yeah. And I think kudos to Corgi and the team behind them. You got this one right. Let's just hope now that this is now the benchmark, what they go for every
credit where credit's due and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're very quick to criticise. We're quick to talk about the grey cockpit. We're quick to talk about a lack of dihydral on the T9 or the Spitfire 9. Yeah. The canopy on the P40. But we do it because we love it. We do it if, you know, the engines are wrong on a B58 Hustler. We do it not to be bastard. No, but we do it because we want it to succeed. And that's, I think, and you know, how people, you know, react to that is up to them. But it's because we want it to be a success, because ultimately, if a JC Wings or a Caliber or a Corgi or a Hobby Master dropped out, it hurts us, doesn't it? Because we're collectors. This is what we like. This is what we like doing. So look, I'm going to summarise that. And yeah, look, really good job, Corgi. Great job, Michael. I know obviously he's our main aviation specialist and top man, may I add. So, you know, if any of you guys who are watching or have watched have any feedback around models you feel that can be improved, you know, let me, Sam, Christian, James, Dan, Gary know. We've got that link into Michael, and obviously the forums as well is a great tool for you know, actually improving things. And you know, these guys want to deliver a top class product, and if we can help it make them get better by pointing out some errors or some improvements, absolutely the thing to do. So let us know if you feel there's anything we can give back to Michael. And sorry, a little bit of a plug, but over the next month or so, I plan to have Michael and David on one of these, whether they'll be on 2 separate ones or together or with me or whatever it may be. We'll do a bit of we'll do a really lengthy Q&A with them. We can talk about, hopefully we can get a few exclusives as well as to what's going on behind the scenes. and go from there. So, yeah, look, I'm really, really happy. I mean, it was nice to sit. I had a hospital appointment at 10 o'clock, and I was hoping to, in true NHS fashion, they would come back 10 minutes late, and she did. They gave me a chance to screenshot everything, and then I sat on the bus on the way back and digested them, and I was like, smashed it. Well done, guys. Love it. Absolutely love it. So, really, really good job. So, moving swiftly on, I know, obviously, Christian, you mentioned something on our pre-video around the Hornby new scale train sets and how that ties into Corgi. Fire away, mate.
Well, one I don't understand. Somebody could explain to me the rationale in creating a new train scale. That seems to be interesting. And just briefly, what the lads think of the current way that Corgi or Hornby sells its models, and it seems that they're increasingly trying to sell models through direct from Hornby, and cutting out retailers in the UK. And just briefly, what do you think of that? So two things. Why has Corgi created a new scale? And obviously the implication of that is the enormous investment they've put into it, that new train scale, and the enormous investment they've put into it. And secondly, just briefly, what did lads think about the way that Corgi and Hornby are selling stuff now?
I put that out to one watching as well. So if you want to put some comments in to the people who are watching that, I mean, Sam, I'm going to be a gentleman and let you go first. So,
yeah, sure. I mean, my knowledge of trains is essentially just shit all. But
I know nothing.
It's all these like different 00 gauge, whatever. No idea. But I mean, what I will say in terms of from my own sort of personal perspective, I've ordered a lot more off the Corgi website purely because they've got this this hobby rewards scheme now in place. So if you spend, it's like 100 points for every, I don't know, every however many pounds you spend, I don't know, and it mounts up. And also they did the thing over the Easter weekend whereby it was double points. So all your points would count for a bit more. I think it's great to see, but at the same time, I guess it does hurt retailers, because the reason why people would always go to retailers was because they were slightly undercutting what Corgi were doing. And of course, if you buy from a retailer, Corgi don't make as much money. So I think that's why that's been done. I mean, is it good for the hobby? I think time will tell. I think in the short term, it's good if you're a collector and you build up these points, and then you can put it towards something. It's always welcome, especially when we're in the midst of a cost of living crisis, and every pound, still now really does count. So yeah, but like in terms of what they did with the trains and producing this new scale, could it be sort of pricing out, because I mean these new scale trains, I mean, someone have to correct me on this, surely they're still going to be in the train hobby shops, aren't they? So yeah, but whether it's trying to, here we go, we've got a train comment. We can from Chris. TT scale helps with size rather than having a big 00 scale layout being meter square. You get a decent layout for a smaller room. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, it's interesting.
I've got an opinion on that.
Thank you. Chris.
It's Chris White.
Yeah.
So Chris, I think Chris is a dealer, isn't it? I think Chris does, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, I believe you're like an independent diecast retailer who operate, like you operate out of your own house or whether out of a site, but I believe you do sell diecast, if I'm correct. But my theory behind it, and this is being a retailer, top of my game and all that at the age of 42, the other thing in retail called shrinkflation. So Walker's Crisp are I don't know if you have Walker's in Australia, Christian. Obviously, he's gone to his cupboard to get some now. He's going to get a pack of salt and vinegar. Yeah, there you go. Chris does, yeah. So Walker's Crisp, what they do is they have, for example, a 30-pack at £3. And what they then do is reduce it to a 28-pack and sell it for £3. I think this is very similar to what they're doing with this smaller TT scale. I think that it's a way of masking a price increase by delivering a product in a much smaller scale, and then proposition it as, yeah, you can get more in and you can do more of this. I think it's a way of saying, right, we could use less metal, less cost, less electrics, and you get more yield then for your more bang for your buck. Then we call it yielding, like you're producing bacon. So I'm using another retail term now. So yield is if you have a kilogram of dough, how many rolls you'd get out of it. If you get 100 rolls out of it, and then suddenly the manager goes, "No, I want 120 out of it." Each roll will be slightly smaller, and suddenly you've stretched that 1 kilogram and made more money from it. I think it's partly that as well, because the increases in diecast in the last 5 years is probably around about 33%. I'm guessing a third, maybe. Am I right in saying that? So we've gone from 40 quid to 60 quid, and that's only happened in the last 5 years. So I'm guessing it's the same sort of thing with that. There must be logic behind it. What that logic is obviously Simon Kohler's in charge of that, and obviously Taff, who runs Hornby, is ultimately accountable for that. There must be logic to it. But again, getting back to the retailer thing, I mean, I was walking around London today, and having a look at what the coronation prep and stuff like that. There's not in London, central London. Bear in mind, London's 10 million people live there. The only place you can get diecast is in Hamleys in Regent Street and the RAF Museum. I think you might be able to get it at ARD, which is Aviation Retail Direct, which is in Hillingdon. And I think they've got a place in Heathrow as well, but they're more Gemini centric, more sort of airliners. But they do a decent range there. That is it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. There's no other hobby shops. I live in Romford. There's a train shop. Sells model trains at Romeo Corner in Romford. They don't sell any Corgi. There's nothing anymore. I mean, the best places to get diecast now is probably somewhere like the Battle of Britain Museum down at Hawkinge, I think it is. Their diecast selections out of this world, brilliant. But that's the only other place you can get them, is museums and stuff like that, or toy fairs. Or most people are independents now. Again, I don't want to speak for Chris. I know Chris is watching, but most people just, remember Al Buchanan? I mean, you bought a fowl before, Sam, haven't you? Al, that's out of his house. Yeah. And you got, obviously, you got some great people on our page as well who sell some, some brilliant, but Andy Beck, for example, Lofty's Hobbies, I'll give him a shout out. Guy's unreal, he sells it at a brilliant rate for us. But you just can't get to go and see them anymore. You can't get them out of the box, have a look at them in the old model zone. I used to spend hours. When my missus took me to Lakeside, I'd be like, sod this, don't want to go in Primark. I'd go down to model zone, spend an hour and a half chatting, opening boxes, looking at aircraft, and you could choose them. You can look at it and go, do you know what? Actually, I don't like the colour scheme of that. It's a bit shit. I didn't get this instead. But those days are over. I get why Corgi are doing it, because I guess we said this before. They're the little brother of the little runt of the litter, and they Hornby take all the glory. Airfix then comes second, then Scale Electrics. It's maybe even fifth if you put Humbro in there. It's a difficult one, isn't it? It really is. I get why they're doing it though, Christian. I really do. But you're right. Those days are then. I mean, we'll be then paying those RRP prices rather than that 10 quid off, which you can get from somewhere else. But I hope that's not setting a precedent, because it does, because it's costing us a bloody arm and a leg now, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, that was good, because I was trying to understand some sort of rationale, and so thanks a lot, lads.
No.
Look, thank you.
Look, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you to everyone who's watched. And everyone's contributed. Look, cheers, guys. Really appreciate it. So in a few weeks, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll catch up with Michael and David, and we can have them on for a live and a big, real detailed Q&A. I'm sure you'll lead the charge on MH3 for us, Christian. We won't be discussing
questions.
We won't be discussing the Hustler in great detail at any given point until it's all done. But look,
band word. But no, thank you both for coming on, and yeah, like I say, like Mark says, thank you all for watching. And yeah, and keep active on the Facebook and on the of course on MH3 if anyone hasn't checked it out. And it's what's keep the hobby keeps the hobby going, really, isn't it? So yeah.
No, thank you, gents.
All right.
Look, we've been chatting an hour and 40 minutes,
Right.
and it's flowed beautifully. So thank you so much for your contribution. I know you've done this a number of times. It's lovely to talk to people who share the same dorky passion as myself. No, but it's lovely to do that, and the fact that we're including someone on the other side, the arse end of the earth, dare I say, the other side of the world. Yeah, it says that. Well, it says that's why we're living in Romford. That's the new joke. If someone goes, "How are you feeling, Mark?" So I'm in a bad place. I'm in Romford.
Indeed.
You know, it's. Look, no, cheers, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Look, I'm sure we'll chat soon anyhow, but thanks for all your time. Really appreciate it, especially getting up at 6 in the morning down in sunny Australia. I look forward to England giving you an absolute pummeling this summer.
Can't wait.
Yeah, we hope. Yeah, 5-0. It'd be 5-0 either way, wouldn't it? Either a badge ball's coming for you. Just make sure the boys know. But look, cheers, guys. Have a great night. Great day for you, Christian. I'm sure we'll catch up soon. But thank you, everyone involved, and speak to you soon. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Catch you all. Okay, do I turn off? Do I go?